Sushant Kumar Panigrahi. I am an associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering of IIT Madras. For this subject, I am going to cover the constitution of alloys and phase diagrams. So, this course will be covered in 3 classes. First one is on 18th. Today there will be a class from 8 to 10. Then next class is on 20th September 2017, again same time 8 to 10 am, and third one is on 22nd September 2017, like again on between 8 to 10 am. So, in this course I am going to cover the following content. One is like introduction to alloys, then what are the different constituents of alloys, that I am going to explain. Third one is theory of phase diagram, I will tell. Then I will discuss about binary phase diagrams and microstructural development, where I am going to cover different kind of binary phase diagrams like eutectic, like isomorphous system, eutectic system, eutectoid system, peritectoid system, and all. Then I will briefly discuss about ternary phase diagram. How I will tell here, I will tell about like how to read a ternary phase diagram, what is the principle behind ternary phase diagram. Then I will discuss about iron carbide equilibrium phase diagram. Then I will discuss about phase transformations. On phase transformations, I will tell briefly about time temperature transformation like TTT diagram, and second one is continuous cooling transformation CCT diagram. So, you can refer these books to understand the diagram. The books are mentioned as like J.C. Zhao method for phase diagram termination, which is elsewhere publication. A. Prince, the second book like alloy phase equilibria. Third book is M. Hillert. Fourth book is by W.D. Callister. It is a material science and engineering book. You can also read books by many physical metallurgy books or any material science book, for example Callister and all, and you can also refer some physical metallurgy book by Redhill or any other books. Actually, if you see the content, the content is vast. So I was given 6 hours. I may not able to go in depth in each aspect of the content, but I will try to cover everything within 6 hours. So I will so the course objective is like this. First the alloys. First I will tell you the alloys, then I will tell you about the phase diagrams, and then I will tell you the microstructural evolution, and then the correlation of the alloy microstructural evolution with phase diagram. That correlation will be given. So as you know, there are different kind of alloys, and each alloy has a different kind of each alloy will be have different phases. So by using phase diagram, you can determine the different equilibrium phases at a under the condition of temperature and pressure. So by in the course objective of this course is to understand the phase diagrams of different alloys, and second objective is to understand the microstructural evolution at different temperatures using phase diagram. So first let us discuss like what is an alloy. So as you know, the alloy is a combination of 2 or more elements. The elements may be metallic or few may be non-metallic. It means the if you see the definition, an alloy exhibits the properties of a metallic material and is made from multiple elements. So the alloying elements. So why do we want alloy? For example, aluminum alloy. Aluminum is a parent material. When you add alloying elements to aluminum, it gives high property. For example, if you take aluminum, aluminum is a ductile material. For example, in some cases you want corrosion resistance, you want high strength, you want high ductility, you want a particular material. For example, aluminum. Aluminum is of lightweight. You want to increase the strength of aluminum, but the strength of aluminum is low. So if you want to increase the strength of aluminum, you have to add some alloying element. If you want to improve the corrosion resistance of aluminum, aluminum, then you have to add some alloying element which will have good corrosion resistance. So by mixing all, the alloy develops. So the alloy is a mixture of minimum two metallic or non-metallic, mostly metallic elements. Okay, and these alloys, the elements are added intentionally to alter the physical, mechanical, and chemical properties. For examples, copper alloys. Copper alloys is a mixture of copper and tin. In copper, that is a one type of copper alloy is brass and bronze. One kind of copper alloy is bronze. Many people are using bronze is being used widely more than 1000 years. So the bronze contains copper and tin. Copper is a soft material, ductile material, and tin they are to make it high strength. So that is bronze. So they use in ancient ages they were using this bronze in cutting tool materials. So second alloy is brass. In a brass is an alloy of copper, and so here the copper is your major alloying element and major parent material, and zinc is added as an alloying element. As a result you get brass. So brass is widely used mainly in musical instruments and coins. Coin is made up of brass. Second category is steel. In steel, steel is an alloy of iron and carbon. For example, if you take a typical type of steel like stainless steel, stainless is a mixture of the steel plus iron plus chromium plus nickel. So chromium gives high corrosion resistance to steel. Similarly, nickel also gives some desirable property. So that's why they have added iron, chromium, and nickel to get a steel. Similarly, if you take aluminum alloy, there are so many types of aluminum alloys. For example, aluminum copper alloys, aluminum magnesium silicon alloys, aluminum zinc alloy. In each alloy of aluminum series, they add some alloying element. So like here they have added in aluminum copper alloy, copper is the alloying element. In aluminum magnesium silicon alloy, magnesium silicon is the alloying element, and aluminum is the parent material. In aluminum zinc alloy, zinc is the alloying element with aluminum, and it gives desirable properties. For example, this aluminum zinc alloy, these alloys are used for aerospace structures. In aircraft you need high strength and lightweight. So if you take only aluminum, then aluminum gives light strength. Sorry, aluminum gives low lightweight. Density of aluminum is very low, but strength of aluminum is also very low. So they add zinc to aluminum. As a result, it becomes the strength enhances. So the strength enhances because of precipitation hardening, a term called precipitation hardening. And by adding this kind of zinc, the strength of pure aluminum enhances significantly. So in aircraft structure, they don't use aluminum because aluminum doesn't give high strength, but it gives high ductility, high lightweight. But they add zinc, so they make an aluminum zinc alloy, and this combined this alloy gives high strength as well as lightweight. Similarly, gold is an alloy, again an alloy of gold is alloy of gold, copper, silver, nickel, and all. So these are the alloys. So a metal. So what is the difference between a metal and alloy? Metal is an individual component. Okay, it may be aluminum, copper, magnesium. Alloy is a mixture of metallic materials or few non-metallic materials. For example, aluminum copper, as we discussed, aluminum magnesium silicon, iron chromium nickel, copper tin. Here all are metals. If you see iron carbon steel, iron carbon is added with iron. So the parent metal is metal, but the alloying element is carbon, which is a non-metal. So non-metals are rarely used. Mostly in alloys, many metallic materials are mixed together. So what are the constituents of an alloy? This slide gives you the different constituents of alloys. For example, one is different. What is an alloy? Alloy is a mixture of 2 or 3 different elements. Okay. So you are adding in an alloy, you are adding an alloying element to a parent material. For example, it is a aluminum alloy. So aluminum, zinc, copper. So aluminum zinc copper alloy. In a aluminum zinc copper alloy, aluminum is your parent material and you are adding zinc and copper. Aluminum zinc copper alloy. So in aluminum zinc alloy, the aluminum is your parent material and zinc is your alloying element. See, the parent material is called as solvent and the alloying element which you are adding to the parent material is called as solute. So that is the first term. So if you see this one, you can see the first part of this I have written solvent and solute. What is solvent? Solvent is the parent material. So copper alloy. So copper is your parent material. If it is a bronze, then copper and zinc. So copper zinc alloy. So copper is your parent material and zinc is your alloying element. So zinc is called as solute and copper is called as solvent. So in every alloy, the parent material is called as solvent and the alloying element which you are adding is called as solute. Okay. So next is thing is solubility limit. So what is solubility limit? So so if you see the right hand side, you can see the I have written solvent, the different in place of different constituents of alloys. The different constituents of alloys are solvent and solute. First one, second one is solubility limit, third one is miscibility, fourth one is phases. In phases, under phases I have written solid solution, intermediate phases, intermetallic compound. We were discussing about the constituents of alloys. We discussed about the difference between solvent and solute. Generally the solvent is the parent metal and solute is the alloying element which we generally add. In a alloy system, the solvent is always metal. However, the solute may be metal or non-metal, but mostly solute is also a metal. How few cases like iron carbon phase diagram, the solute is a non-metal. Next one is solubility limit. Solubility limit tells you like how much solute is can be dissolved in solvent, in solid solution. That is solubility limit. I will tell you. I will come here to tell what is solubility limit. Next one is miscibility. Miscibility. I will tell miscibility also after the phases. Then phases. So phases. I will tell you the phases with an example. In the left hand side, you can see 4 figures. First figure is a ice. When you keep a ice, suppose this is a ice cube. Ice. When you take this is ice cube and water. What is water? If you cool water, you will get ice as like this, and when you melt ice, you will get water. So ice and in a water system, ice and water both are 2 phases. Phases means if you see the difference title of phases, definition of phases, a phase is in an alloy is a portion which is physically homogeneous within itself and mechanically separable from any other system with a given chemical composition and structure. For example, if it is an ice, you can see water is your chemical composition. This ice is a phase, it is a solid phase which is physically you can see physically homogeneous throughout, and it may be ice or water, both are physically homogeneous throughout, and you can separate out ice and between ice and water. So and it is a composition of water. So you can tell these wise waters in a wise water system, water ice is one phase like solid phase, and water is in liquid phase, that is called as phase. So in phase you can see solid phase, liquid phase, and solid phase, liquid phase, and gas phase. Now you can see this one, this second drawing. If you add milk plus water, we discussed about solvent, we discussed about the solute, the difference between solvent and solute. We discussed about also phase. Okay, so as we discussed, phase phase in an alloy is a portion which is physically homogeneous within itself and mechanically separable from any other system with a given chemical composition and structure. So basically, in a conventional way, you can classify phase into three terms. One is solid, second one is liquid, and third one is vapor. So in a system like ice, water has three phases. If you take an example of water, water has three phases. One is solid phase. In solid phase, it is ice. In liquid phase, it is water, and it is a vapor phase. So three phases. Now let us see the second example. Second example is your this figure. So this figure has milk plus water. If you have milk plus water, or kerosene plus water, or alcohol plus water, if you have any mixture like this, when you add both together, what will happen? Whatever amount you can add, it will completely dissolve. For example, if water is your parent material, and if you are adding either milk or kerosene or alcohol to water, and if you assume that water is your parent material, means if you may assume that water is your solvent, you are adding milk, kerosene and alcohol. If you assume this as solute, then in every composition, whatever amount of alcohol or kerosene or milk you add with water, it will become single phase. Okay, it means alcohol or kerosene or milk are completely soluble with water. Yes or no? So that is called as miscibility. You can see here miscibility. So the miscible in liquid state, how two liquid metals mix, that is your miscibility. So it means there is a complete miscibility between alcohol, kerosene and milk with water. So it forms a single phase. So this is a phase. Now if you are, let us mix a condition, third case. Now here you can see this figure. In this figure you can see if you are water with sand. So water, what will happen when you mix water and sand? You may not, you cannot sand cannot be mixed with water. You will get two phases, because water is having zero solubility in sand is having zero solubility in water, because that's why you will get two phases here. One is liquid stage, water phase, second one is sand phase. So two phases you will get here. This is about phase. Instead of sand, if you add salt or sugar, then what will happen? Suppose you have a glass of water, say 100 milliliter or 1 liter. You have a 1 liter of water in a jar, add 10 milligram of sugar and stir it. What will happen? After 1 minute or 2 minute, the sugar will be mixed with water, and in that case you will not able to differentiate between sugar and water. So between sugar, two phases like sugar and water, it will look like water, but in water sugar has completely mixed water and sugar. So you got a solution. This is called as solution. So you have a solution of sugar and water and salt, or water and sugar. So now it formed a single phase. So this is a single phase. It means sugar is having solubility in water. So you are getting a single phase. Now you, instead of 10 gram of sugar, you add 20 gram, 30 gram. You keep on adding and stirring. So you will find a limit above which, if you add more than that limit of sugar if you add sugar more than that limit, then what will happen? Suppose the limit of mixing of sugar in water is 10 milligram or 20 milligram. So if you add 25 milligram of sugar, what will happen? So 20 gram of sugar will be mixed with water, it will form one solution, and remaining 5 gram of sugar will retain as it is. So in this case you will get two phase. Yes or no? The sugar which mixed with water formed a single solution, single phase, and the sugar which is retained in water formed second phase. So that is called as phase. So sugar, depending upon the solubility limit of So now if you consider water as solvent, sugar as solute, here in this case sugar solute has some limited solubility with solvent. Okay. So up to the solubility level, sugar will be able to mixed with water and it will form a single phase, and above the solubility limit sugar will retain as it is, so it will form another phase. So you will get two phases here. Okay. Now if you say the next figure, if you take water with oil, if you mix water with oil, what will happen? You may not able to, it will not able to mix in liquid state. So water and oil are not having any solubility at all, or I can tell water and oil are having lot of miscibility gap. So here miscibility comes to picture. So in liquid state, so what is miscibility? In liquid state, miscibility tells you the amount of mixing nature of solute in and solvent in liquid state. What is solubility tells you? So in this case, this case and this case, the miscibility comes to picture. Here there is no miscibility. So it is having, it can, that's why in water, milk and water, or kerosene and water and water, in this case there is no miscibility, it can mix properly. However, here there is a high, in this case with between water and oil, there is a huge miscibility gap, that's why it is not able to dissolve at all. Then solubility limit comes to picture in case of solid. In this case, when you add two solid elements in solid solution, how much solute dissolves in the suppose you have a atom A and atom B. So atom A and atom B. So in solid solution, how much atom B is able to dissolve in atom A, that tells the solubility limit. If atom B can be dissolved with atom A with 100%, then it is having 100% solubility. In this case, you can take any atom, any percentage of B in A, you can able to make an alloy. So we discussed about all. Now in phases we discuss again a term is called as solid solution. Solid solution means as we discussed, when you consider a metal or alloy is a mixture of two elements as we discussed. Okay. So when you make, let us say, aluminum copper alloy. So in aluminum copper alloy, your solvent is aluminum and solute is copper. Now solubility limit is, solid solution is like how much copper can be dissolved in your solvent aluminum, that tells you the solid solution. Okay. This solid solution generally, so how in a solid solution your crystal structure is same. So you are now in this case you are adding a copper aluminum copper alloy. So aluminum has one crystal structure like FCC, copper may be having different crystal structure. So or atom A, atom B. Atom A may have one crystal structure, atom B may have different crystal structure. But in solid solution, it will form a single crystal structure. So the crystal structure in a solid solution is same. What about liquid stage? In liquid stage, you will get the miscibility gap. Miscibility will come to picture. And what is in gas phase? Gas phase again you will get a single phase. So what about intermediate phases? We will discuss these intermediate phases and intermediate compound afterward. What is a solid solution? We discussed here we discussed our solid solution, right? Now let us discuss more detail about a solid solution. What is a solid solution? Now suppose you have a solvent, A is solvent, and B is solute. Okay. Now you can see these are my solute atoms. You can see these are my solute atom. In a let us say a solvent, in a particular material you have only A. So A is your solvent. Okay. Now I want to make an alloy. So now for a pure metal like A, you can see this this one is for a pure metal like A, for a pure metal. Now if you want to make an alloy, so I will have some percentage of A, let us say A equal to 99%, B equal to 1%. It means in 1% I have to replace B atoms 1% in A atom. So what I have to do? I have to remove few B atoms, and 1% of B atom will be replaced with A atom. So now you have to, for example, suppose this is the atom of solute like B atom. So this is A atom, now B atom. Now I am going to replace B atom with A. What will happen? If B atom is having exactly same atomic size like A, then I can use any type of any percentage of B atom in A atom. It will not disturb the atomic structure. Okay, because B atom, atomic size of B atom is exactly same as atomic size of A. What if the size of B atom is bigger? So same B atom here, this is also B atom, here again B atom. Here what will happen? This size is bigger than the solvent size of this atom. Now I will add this one instead of this atom. If it is a bigger, so the B atom may be of similar size like A atom, or it may be like different size of A atom. So these three, for B atom, you can consider these three cases. B atom may be of similar size, B atom may be of bigger size, and B atom of maybe of smaller size. When you replace B atoms in A atoms, wherein B atoms are bigger than A atom, what will happen? You can see I have replaced this B atom. This is my B atom. I have replaced with A atom. What happens? It has changed the order of aluminum, because this is the regular structure of my A atom solvent. Now I have forcefully added few percentage of B atom, which is a bigger size, in my solvent. So wherever depending upon the percentage of B atom, wherever it will change the order, atomic order in that particular domain. Okay, it is disordered. So what will happen? Now if my B atom is smaller, you can see now here B atom is smaller, you can see it also changed the regular arrangement of atom. So for example, if the regular arrangement is something like this, now if atomic size is same, I am not getting any difference in the regular atomic size, you can see. However, if atomic size is different, I am getting a change in regular size. Similarly, if it is smaller, I am again changing a disturbed structure. There is also chance that the B atoms may be replaced. So in all the three cases, what happens? You have replaced B solute atoms with solvent. So all the three conditions are called as substitutional solute. Substitutional. So you have substituted B atom with A atom. That's why it is called as substitutional solute. It may so happen that if the B atom is of this size, and if the B atom can sit here, you can also sit, the B atom can go and sit here, for example here. In this case, so it means it has gone and set at the void space. You can see it has set in the void space. This is also a possibility. So if this will happen, this is called as interstitial. Interstitial solute. So what happens, because of this also it will again change it, it will also change the regular order because of this element. So the solid solution is here what happens, because of this, in this slide what we discussed, because of making an alloy. In alloy, as you know, alloy has two elements, one is solvent and second one is solute. The solute may be of different size, it may be of similar size like your solvent. In this case, this figure is valid. So, where in this case you can add any amount of solute with solvent, you can make a here the solubility of B atom will be higher than the solubility of in A atom. So, here your solubility limit will be higher. When the atomic size is different, either like this or like this, then what will happen? So, it disturbs the atomic structure. So, as a result, you are getting a distortion here. Okay, so you are getting a strain field in this zone. You are getting a strain field in this zone. You are getting a strain field in this zone. So, because of this, it cannot able to accommodate more number of alloying element with it. So, it means these alloys are having limited solubility, solid solubility. Now, what happens, because you can see this as a result what happens. So, because of this strain field, as we discussed, because of adding something, it is getting a strain field, it is getting a strain field, it is getting a strain field, and this strain field may be either compressive or it may be in tensile strain field. So, it means in this region the lattice distortion happen, elastically distorted, and a strain field is developed. So, now what happens, what will it cause, because of this strain field, what will happen to the properties? The property, the strength of these materials will be higher. How? As you know, how strength will be higher? As you know, when you apply stress, the dislocations move along the slip plane and it moves in the slip direction. Okay. Now, if it will find some obstruction of this dislocation motion, then what will happen? To overcome that obstruction, you need to apply high load, so or high stress. So, strength of that material will be high. So, here what happens, because of the strain field, it is creating an obstruction of dislocation motion, and to overcome this obstruction, you need to apply high stress. So, the strength of the material becomes high. So, as a result, because it means because of this addition of solute atom in solvent, you get high strength. Okay. So, this slide shows, you can see this the again strength in this figure, you can see the zinc atom. In case of zinc atom, the atomic size of zinc atom is almost similar to that of your solvent atom. Here zinc is your solute and this is your solvent atom. If you see these two atomic size is almost same or little bit different. Since atomic size is same, you can see that this particular zinc has high solubility. You can add more, around 25% of zinc can be added to this particular metal. This is aluminum. So, parent metal is aluminum. So, you have aluminum. So, in aluminum you can add around 33% of zinc to the aluminum. So, this is aluminum. If you make zinc only, you can add 33% of aluminum and zinc, because this is same. Since the atomic size is same, so this is the strength of aluminum. Since the atomic size is little bit different, so it will have little bit obstruction. The strain field will not be that effective. So it will not obstruct the dislocation as frequently, because it has only little bit the size difference is little. So the strength, you have not got any strength enhancement. You can see this is the strength of parent material. This is the strength of your aluminum zinc alloy. If you add only zinc. Now, if you add nickel, so nickel atom is also similar, so it is having high solubility and you are not getting any strengthening effect. Now, what will happen? Sn, if you add Sn, this Sn size, this one, is much bigger than your parent atom. So, since it is much bigger, what happens? It will create a large strain field, lattice distortion will be more, it will create a large strain field. As a result, it will able to obstruct the dislocation motion significantly. So, you get high strength. You can see if this is alloy, you get high strength. So, the strength is much higher if aluminum silicon will be added Sn, and if it is Sn, then you get high strength. Since the size is more, so you cannot add more fraction of this atom Sn atom to aluminum. So, you can see the atomic size the alloying element can be added is maximum alloying element can be added is here. Solid solution, I am talking about only solid solution, in solid solution. Now, if take the example of bismuth. Bismuth is much smaller, so it can go and sit in the interstitial. Since because of this, it is again changing the lattice structure. As a result, it will not able to, since it goes and sits in the interstitial, it is very difficult to find a space and go into it. So the solubility is very low for bismuth, but since it creates a large strain field, you get high strength in case of bismuth. So this is about solid solution standard. How to up to what level you can add to make a solid solution, that has been explained by Humer-Rothery. So this is called as Humer-Rothery rule. So you can tell if you are adding A and B, A is solvent and B is solute. If you are adding A with B, the Humer-Rothery rule says that you will have high solubility. I am talking about only solid solubility if atomic radius of solution components is within 15% of another. It means if you will have exactly similar kind of atomic radius, then you will get maximum solubility, solid solubility. So he said that it should be within the range of maximum 15%. It means if A atom is something, B should not be higher than 1.15 of that or lower than 0.85% of that alloy. Second is atoms should have same valence electrons. If the valence difference will be there, then instead of forming a solid solution, you want solid solution. Instead of forming a solid solution, it will form a compound. So I will come to this. We will learn more about this when we discuss about real phase diagram. And preferably both solvent and solute should have same crystal structure. If both are having same crystal structure, then you will have high solubility, and it will have similar electronegativity. Then you will have same solubility. So if all are sufficiently similar, then you will get high solubility. If it is not, then you will not get low solubility, and in some case you will get zero solubility. So among the 4 parameters, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first is very important. It means the atomic size plays a major importance. So if the atomic size of solvent and solute are exactly similar, you will get highest solubility. So it plays a major role in determining the solubility of any material. Now with this background, we will come to phase diagram. What is a phase diagram? So what is a phase diagram? Phase diagram or equilibrium diagram is a map of a system or alloy which gives the relationship between phases in equilibrium as a function of temperature, pressure and composition. So with respect to temperature, pressure and composition, you will get phase diagram. Phase diagram will give a map. So second one is equilibrium. Any system, so you can the phase diagram is also called as equilibrium diagram. What is equilibrium? Equilibrium is any system is said to be equilibrium when it is under mechanical, thermal and chemical equilibrium. So in a phase diagram, whatever phases you are seeing, for example, before coming to this, let us see this phase diagram, whichever is shown. If you see this phase diagram, this is a particular type of phase diagram. Here this is alloy A, this is B, so this is your solvent, and this is your solute. Now B is your solute and A is your solvent. So now if for this particular alloy system, AB alloy system, you can see this is liquid. So it is having a very good solubility in liquid, and it is at a particular temperature. At this temperature it is having liquid. So and in this composition you are getting alpha plus beta. So if this is liquid, so this line differentiate between these two. So this is alpha. So this is liquid, this is alpha. So this is alpha plus beta. Similarly, this is another phase it is forming, and this is L plus B. So, we will discuss in detail more about this in next slides. So, since this is alpha, this is beta, so intermediate region has become alpha plus beta, alpha plus beta. So, if you consider this phase diagram, it is giving at a particular temperature, at a particular combination. So, this is your composition alloy. So, let us say this is 50, this is 20% of B. So, 20% of B is a alloy, and this alloy gives phase diagram. So, if you heat this alloy at this temperature, it is giving liquid phase. If you heat this alloy at this temperature T2, it gives liquid, two solid, sorry, liquid, sorry, this is plus liquid, solid plus liquid phase. If you heat here, you are getting a two phase, alpha plus beta. So, if you are alloying is like this, you are not getting a single phase. Now, instead of this, if your combination is here, suppose this is your B, then in this case you are getting a single phase alpha. So, if your combination is something like this, here you are getting here you are getting this is alpha plus beta. You are getting two phases, alpha liquid plus beta. However, here you are getting same temperature, but in one case at one composition you are getting alpha plus beta, in other case you are getting alpha plus liquid plus beta. So, the phase diagram is a equilibrium diagram, it is a map which gives the different phases at as a function of temperature, pressure and composition. And the phases which are observed in a phase diagram are equilibrium. Thermodynamically equilibrium means it is equilibrium in terms of mechanical, thermal and chemical. So, whatever phases you are getting, these phases have least Gibbs free energy. What is, as you know, the Gibbs free energy G equal to enthalpy. So, what is the Gibbs free energy? Enthalpy minus T into entropy. So, G at any temperature equal to enthalpy at any temperature minus time into entropy of temperature into entropy at any temperature. So, this phase diagram, whatever phases you are getting at this particular composition, suppose at this composition you are getting here alpha plus beta, or at this composition here you are getting alpha phase. So, this alpha phase at this composition has least lowest Gibbs free energy. So, phase diagram, the phases existing in an equilibrium phase diagram are having lowest Gibbs free energy under a given condition. So, this is about phase diagram. Now, let us discuss some fundamental about phase diagram. So, the first one is Gibbs phase rule. Gibbs phase rule says, you can see the definition, for a given system it provides the relationship between number of components and number of equilibrium phases. Gibbs phase rule is defined in terms of this, F equal to, here it gives a degree of freedom, F equal to C minus P plus 2. So, F equal to degree of freedom, C equal to components, P equal to phases. Now, what does it indicate? You can see, we will discuss this degree of freedom, this one, with respect to different phase diagrams. Now, next to we will discuss in detail. So, next one is types of equilibrium phase diagrams. So, what are the types of equilibrium phase diagrams? One is unary. In unary, if the component is only one, for example, aluminum phase diagram, that is unary phase diagram. If the number of component is one, that, and with that if you want to get a phase diagram, that is called as unary phase diagram. If it is unary, then what will happen? Aluminum, it will be melted at particular temperature, it will be at a particular temperature it will become cool, and here your variables will be for a unary phase diagram, your variables will be pressure and temperature. So, this diagram is a unary phase diagram. Okay. So, equilibrium phase diagrams are one unary, second binary, third ternary. Unary means you have only one element like aluminum, copper, magnesium. For that, if you want to see a phase diagram, then how different phases coexist with respect to temperature and pressure that will be determined by using this degree of freedom equation. Now let us assume that for a unary phase diagram. So what is phase diagram, degree of freedom for a unary phase diagram? For a unary phase diagram, this is a unary phase diagram. F equal to C minus P plus 2. Now let us consider that we want to know the, so here in a unary phase diagram, let us assume that this is for a water system, water or a single phase single material like aluminum or magnesium. So this is the melting point. So this is your solid, sorry, this is your liquid. So this is your solid, liquid, vapor. Okay, so these are the three: solid phase, liquid phase, vapor phase. If you take a aluminum alloy at a particular temperature, and pressure, it will become, above this it will become liquid, below this it will become solid, and at high temperature and pressure it will become vapor. For example, this is a water system. This is the phase diagram of a water system. Okay, so a liquid, solid and vapor. Now, so suppose this is the phase diagram. Now I want to know the phase of here. So here it has a single phase. It is a single phase. So what is the degree of freedom here? The degree of freedom is F equal to, component is 1. Component is 1. How many phases? Phases is 1. So F equal to 2. So if I take any point in this, my degree of freedom is 2. What does it indicate? It indicates that I have freedom to vary two parameters together. So for example, I can fix a temperature, pressure. I can fix it a pressure and vary the temperature, and still I get pressure. Vary the temperature, still I get the same liquid phase. Or what I can do, I can vary. So at any temperature, I will get same liquid phase. Similarly, in vapor also, in liquid, solid also, we will get the same condition. What will happen here at this condition? In this condition, what happens is, when you vary, either you can vary. So here what will happen? Here it has two phases, x, y. In x, y, you have F equal to C minus P plus 2. You have component is 1, two phases, liquid plus vapor. So this one plus 2. So this is cancelled, this 1. It means you don't have number of freedom 2. You have a fixed so at a fixed combination of pressure and temperature, you will get these data points. It means like here you don't have freedom to change either temperature and pressure. You have to, here since degree of freedom is 1, it means you have to fix you will get this particular line in a fixed combination, in a fixed set of combinations of pressure and temperature. What will be the phase diagram here? Here F equal to C minus P plus 2, this is 1. Here 3 phases exist, liquid, solid, liquid, vapor. So minus 3 plus 2, so it becomes 0. It means what? It is not having any freedom. So in this particular combination only you get liquid, solid and vapor. If you vary little bit pressure or temperature, you will not get this point. So that's why this is called as invariant. So F equal to 0 means this is called as invariant. If F equal to 1, this is called as univariant. F equal to 2 called as bivariant point. Now let us see this phase diagram for a binary system. So this is the phase diagram of a binary system. In this binary system, you have so atom A, B, this is the liquid phase, this is the liquid plus beta phase, alpha phase, and this is the solid phase. So this is one solid phase, or you can tell S, this is solid phase. So this is liquid plus solid phase, this is solid phase. Now what will be the degree of freedom any point in liquid phase? So F equal to C minus P plus 2. So here how many components? You have A and B. So it is a binary alloy. So you have two components. So component equal to 2. How many phases here? whichever point you take, either here or here, you will get only one phase, 1. So 2 minus 1 plus 2 equal to 3, right? So your degree of freedoms are 3. It means what? What are the variables? Your variables are any composition, components are 2. Now sorry. So what is the meaning of this 2? This 2 is for pressure and temperature. So for a normal system, in the previous case we have used this equation as F equal to C minus P plus 2. What is 2? 2 means if you have two variables, pressure and temperature. However, in a binary system, maintaining 2 is very difficult. So because you have one axis, 2 axis. In one axis you can vary temperature, and other axis you can vary the composition, because you are adding A with B. So for that, what they do, so the phase diagram has been made at a fixed pressure. So here pressure equal to atmospheric pressure, 1 atmosphere. So pressure is fixed at a fixed pressure. They vary the temperature. Okay. So here here there are not two variables. In the previous case, pressure and temperature were variable. Here the pressure is fixed. Only temperature is variable. So instead of 2, you have to write 1 for a metallic system, binary system. Now here come to this point. You want to know the degree of freedom either any point in the liquid state or any point in the solid state. So what is the degree of freedom? Either 1, 2, 3, 4. In these 4 points, degree of freedom will be same. Here 1, 2 corresponds to one single phase liquid phase, and 3, 4 corresponds to one single phase solid phase. So what happens? Here component equal to 2 and number of phases equal to, in this, 1. Either it may be liquid or it may be solid. So 1 plus 1 equal to 1, so equal to 2. It means your degree of freedom equal to 2. So here your degree of freedom equal to 2. It means, what does it mean? You vary any combination of temperature and pressure, any combination of temperature, pressure, temperature, pressure, temperature, pressure, or for a prefixed temperature in both conditions, or you can fix a temperature, or you can fix a temperature and vary the pressure, vary the composition. Sorry, I am not telling to pressure. You can take for a particular point here, suppose this composition. In this composition, you have freedom to vary any composition at a fixed temperature, or in any composition, any temperature, and at different compositions, you will get still same liquid phase. Similarly here, so you have freedom on composition as well as temperature, because the degree of freedom is 2. What will happen if you take something here, if your condition is something here, this data point? What is the degree of freedom here? Here it gives liquid plus solid. So what is, how many phases here? How many phases are there? Here liquid is liquid plus solid. So component is A plus B. So component 2, liquid plus solid. So phases are 2. So you are getting 1 degree of freedom. What does it mean? It means in a fixed you cannot vary. So if your composition is fixed, you will only get liquid. So because if you change, what will happen? So you in the next slide you will get a lever rule. If you change this one to this one, or to suppose same temperature, if you come here, its composition is different than this composition. This is your liquid composition. We will discuss in next class. This is solid composition. This is liquid composition. So as you keep on coming down, your composition changes. So for a fixed temperature, for a fixed composition, you can vary the temperature, or for a fixed temperature, you can vary the composition. That is possible. You don't have any freedom. You have to identify for a fixed. For example, for a fixed setup, temperature and composition, you are getting this data point. To get this composition, again you have to fix the temperature as well as pressure together, because if you vary little bit this side, then the composition will be different. You will get more solidus composition and less high liquidus composition here. So that will be determined for the phase diagram. So for a fixed composition, you are getting the liquid plus solid. So because this degree of freedom is 1. So now then next one is solidification of metals and alloys. What do you mean by solidification of metals and alloys? In a solidification of metals, when you melt any metal or alloy, what happens if it is a metal? Let us say your metal is aluminum. You are getting time temperature diagram of aluminum, solidification of a metal. What happens if you have a metal? Now the melting point is aluminum melting point equal to 660 degrees centigrade. Now what will happen? Now suppose this particular material forms this phase diagram. So now at the melting point, at high melting point, what will happen? So for example, you have aluminum A, you have pure metal A. Suppose A equal to, so aluminum has a fixed melting point. Suppose this is 660. What happens? How it will happen? So for this, what you have to do? You have to melt aluminum. How aluminum will solidify? Suppose you have to heat it at 900. At 900 it will become liquid. Then time, temperature. Now what happens? Now suppose this is 900. At 900 degrees centigrade, aluminum will be in liquid state. Now when you solidify aluminum, for solidification it will take some time. Suppose here the solid crystals will freeze. So at this temperature, the first solid crystal will form, and so now the freezing, now here liquid, now this point, and for the now first solid crystals will form, and then after some time this solid crystal formation, here it will have, just before this it will have 100% liquid. Then as you keep on, then here at the temperature of 660, solid crystals will try to form, and here you will have 100% solid. This is the phase diagram of a pure metal. So this is the solidification range. This is your solidification range. So here you will have 0% solid. Here you will have 100% solid. This is for a pure metal. So for a alloy, we will discuss in the previous slide. Now, what do we want to know in general about an alloy? So in an alloy, we should know the different type of phases. Okay, so in an alloy, we should know the different type of phases. For example, liquid, solid, HCP crystal et al. We want to know, suppose for a particular alloy, suppose this is a phase diagram. Our alloy is like this. So this is A, this is B. So this is 20% of. So this alloy is 80% A, 20% B. This is 20. So the remaining is 80. Here 100%. Here you have 100% A. Okay, so this is 100%. This is 100% B. So you are getting some alloy components. What do you want from an alloy? You want to know what are the different phases. For example, this alloy has liquid. Suppose this alloy has liquid phase, liquid plus solid phase, and a solid phase, because L plus L is a solid phase. So you want to know what are the types of alloy it forms, that you know from an alloy. What else you know? What is, at what temperature what phases forms. For example, here liquid phase forms. At this temperature, liquid plus solid phase forms. At this temperature, solid phase forms. You also want to know at what temperature different phases form. You also want to know the composition of each component in each phase. For example, suppose at this temperature, you have got at this aluminum 80% A, 20% B alloy has at, so let us say T1. At T1 you have liquid plus solid. So you want to know in liquid how many percentage of A is there and how many percentage of B is there. Similarly, in solid, you want to know how many percentage of A is there, how many percentage of B is there. It will not become 80:20. So in liquid, the ratio will be different. Solid liquid ratio will be different. And you also know, you also want to know how many percentage of liquid, how many percentage of liquid is there, how many percentage of solid is there at this temperature, at this point. So all the things you want to know from a alloy, particular alloy system. So to know all the things, you have to use lever rule. So the solution is lever rule. To know all the things, you need to get lever rule. So lever rule says, suppose your alloy is here. Now this is your alloy. What you want to know? To know first is to composition. First I want to know the composition. First you have in this temperature you have, now you want to know at x you have T1, you want to know what is the composition of liquid and solid at A. So for that what you have to do? You have to draw a vertical tie line. I will expand this one. You have to draw a vertical tie line. You have to draw a horizontal tie line. I have drawn a horizontal tie line. Wherever this point meets here, so what is this? This is liquid, this is solid. So wherever this point meets with this line, I have to mark, and I have to draw a vertical line here. Then I have to see, extend this one and see where it marks here. Then I have to draw a vertical line. Now I will do it in a better way. So this is, suppose I will take, this will give me this, I know what the percentage of B is known. Suppose percentage of B is known. So suppose this one is, for in a bigger scale I will do. Suppose this is liquid, this line is liquid. So this is, if I take this one as BL, and if I take this line as BS because it touches to S, and if I take this one as B, now if I take a line, this is BL, this is BS, and this is B. I want to know, now my composition is here, so this composition is B, now B, this is the composition. I want to know what is my B concentration at here. So what I will do, I will draw a line. So this line connects here, this line connects here. So this is my liquid, this is my liquid, this is my solid. Okay, so now I have got, so how to know this composition? I have drawn a vertical line. This is liquid, this is solid. I have done the same part. To get what happens, I have drawn a, I have to draw a vertical line. I have to connect, first step is, I will start from this. Now this is, I want to know the composition of B. So what I have to do, I have to draw a horizontal line, and I will see where it touches. Now it touched here. Now what I will do, I will draw a vertical line. I will draw a vertical line. Now wherever it touches here, I will give this one as BL. Wherever it touches here, since it is solid, I will give this one as BS. So this is my BL, this is my BS, and this is my B. So this BL will give me the composition of liquid in B. Okay, let us say for example here, and BS will give me the composition of solid in B. Okay, now what is the percentage of B will be given by, so suppose you want to get the, so now in this line I have, so if you want to know the percentage of here, in this combination you have liquid plus solid. So if you want to know the percentage of liquid, then you have to see, so this line touches here to liquid and here to solid, so you have to take the reverse one. So you have to see which point touches to solid. If you want to get the percentage of liquid, you have to see which point touches to the solid. So you know, get this one vertical, so you know this distance solid, so percentage of liquid equal to BBS by the total length, BBL BS into 100 is will give you the percentage of liquid composition. What we did, I have drawn a horizontal line. So wherever it touches, so if you want to know the composition of liquid, this line, this contains liquid plus solid. If I want to know the liquid percentage, what I have to do, I have to measure this and this line by the total length. So I will get percent liquid. What is the percentage of solid? To get percentage of solid, what I have to do? This line touches here. This line touches here. Touches here. So to get the percentage of solid, this one by this total length will give you this length. What is this length? This length is BLB by the total length. BlBs into 100 will give you the percentage of solid. So by seeing by drawing the lever rule, you can get percentage of liquid, percentage of liquid, percentage of one phase, percentage of second phase. Also you can get the chemical composition of one phase, chemical composition of two phase. For example, here if I can assume that the chemical composition of Bl is what? Bl may be, suppose this is 20%, this is 10%. So Bl has 10% fraction of atom B and 90% fraction of atom A. Similarly, what is Bs? Bs, suppose this is 50% of AB, so this may be around 40%. So it has 40% of atom B, so 40% Bs has 40% of B and 60% of A. So do you have any questions till now? What is an alloy? Then we discussed a bit about phase diagram, and then we discussed about how to identify the different constituents of phase diagram. We are in the very basic level. Anybody has any doubt till now? So yeah, so it is not necessary. So the element has partial solubility or full solubility, that we will discuss. You will come to know when we discuss in detail about the phase diagram. So when we solve some problems or see the microstructural evolution, you will able to come to know about the phase. Yeah, the second comment is like Mr. Sahib. He asked what is the difference between an alloy and phase. Okay. So now the alloy is a combination of two or more metallic materials or non-metallic materials. So mainly in an alloy, your parent metal must be in metal mostly, and the solvent solute may be of non-metal or metal, mostly metal. So in an alloy, at a particular composition, you get different phases. So for example, as we saw in the previous while discussing lever rule, we have used a phase diagram. In that phase diagram, we have seen that like for an alloy of 20% of A and 80% of 20% B and 80% of A in that alloy, if we heat it from up to heat it high temperature, you get liquid phase. Intermediate temperature, you get liquid plus solid phase, and low temperature, you are getting a solid phase. So for alloy combination is same, but you are getting three different phases when you heat it in a different level. Okay. Now in a composite material, composite is also mixture of two or three different elements, but the elements are up to the melting point of your metal, of your composite material, the reinforcement intact its originality. In a composite material, you use a reinforcement and matrix material. Like in an alloy, you are using solvent and solute. Your solvent is your parent material and solute is your additional material. Similarly, in a composite material, you are adding reinforcement and matrix. So matrix is your parent material and you are adding reinforcement to the matrix to make a composite. So composite is two elements. So if you consider that as a phase, so your reinforcement, you may assume that your matrix is a phase and reinforcement is a phase, but here you are distinctly visualize between reinforcement as phase till the melting point of your matrix. Till the melting point, suppose you have added 80% of reinforcement in a 20% of matrix, it will be 80% reinforcement, it will not change its originality till the melting point of your material. However, in an alloy, up to the melting point, it forms different phases. It forms different phases. It will not maintain its originality. So that is the difference between alloy and composite. Yeah. So difference between solidus and liquidus line I will discuss next. Yeah. So I have discussed the degree of freedom, right? Difference. Yeah. I will discuss the compound and phase. We will come to know when we will discuss about phase diagram in detail. Yeah, so degree of freedom we discussed for unary system and for binary system, right? So you asked what is the difference between solid solution and alloy. A alloy is a mixture of 2 or 3 elements. Okay, let us take a binary alloy. In a binary alloy you have 2 elements, one is solvent, second one is solute. Okay, now the solid solution is like suppose you have added A, B with A, B is your solvent, A is your solvent, B is your solute. Okay, if your solute atomic size is exactly same as atomic size of solvent, there is a high chance that the solute can be, more fraction of solute can be dissolved in your solvent in solid solution. Solid solution means in solid, how much fraction of the solute is able to dissolve in your solid solution. Solid solution means in solid phase, how much fraction of atom B, B is able to dissolve in A. For example, few system, nickel and Pb or some alloy system, you can get 100% solubility. So the whatever amount of fraction of nickel you add, you can add. So for example, we discussed just now a binary phase diagram. I will go to that PPT. So where you have at some temperature you got complete liquid, and some temperature you got complete solid, and in the intermediate range you got liquid plus solid. It means at a temperature range where you got complete solid, it means in that particular alloy system B is 100% soluble in A, that in solid solution, that is solid solubility. However, alloy is a mixture of 2 or 3 different alloy elements, that is difference between alloy and compound, solid solution and alloy. Yeah, so the varying of carbon, so like Binus asked like why is the percent of carbon varying with respect to temperature, and so we will discuss when we discuss about iron carbon phase diagram. Okay, so let us continue our discuss.
So I am from CIT, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my name is B. Gaurvitsat, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yes, please ask me.
So is liver rule is applicable only for solid, sir?
What?
Is liver rule is applicable only for solid, sir?
No. Liver rule is applied anywhere where 2 phases are there. It is not applicable for solid only. So here we have a alloy system where you are getting a liquid phase, liquid plus solid phase, and solid phase. So to get the composition of the 2 phases, we have used liver rule. So liver rule is applicable for determining the independent percentage of each phase where you have 2 solid phases. So in a binary alloy system, liver rule is applicable for getting 2 different phases, and in ternary alloy system also you can use liver rule to identify different individual phases.
Thank you, sir.
So is it possible? Are you able to follow?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Good morning,
Yes.
sir.
Morning.
Actually, sir, my doubt is in Gibbs rule, we are considering degree of freedom also pressure, temperature, and constituent, as well as we are in the constant also we are considering any of the 2. Why it is like that?
Yeah, so for that you have to see the derivation. You can see any book, or I can also derive. So the Gibbs phase rule is derived accordingly. There is a derivation. You can see any book actually. Because of time limitation, I have not derived. I have directly used the formula to get the Gibbs phase rule. Maybe I can discuss this one after the class, or you can see any book. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Because I directly use the formula, Gibbs phase rule formula, to save the time. So where, hello?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now next is how to read a binary phase diagram. Okay, to read a binary phase diagram, we have discussed that. So there are I have shown you in this slide. In this slide, you can see 2 types of binary phase diagram. For example, this is type 1. In 1, about this diagram we have already seen. This is your A, this is B, and how to read a binary phase diagram. So for suppose the phase diagram of alloy system is like like 1, then what does it indicate? Whatever what does it indicate? Like you can take this composition or this composition or this composition. At this particular composition, suppose this is around we have already discussed 20% B, suppose this is around 40% B, suppose this is around 70% B and remaining 30% A and all. So now how to read a binary phase diagram? If it is a binary phase diagram, you can read like this. So this alloy gives suppose this is the phase diagram of this. So this is your liquid, this is the line which differentiate between liquid and solid phase. So this is called as liquid plus solid. So this line is called as liquidous line. So the line which intersects between solid, liquid to liquid plus solid, that phase, that line is called as liquidous line. And below this is solid. So the line which intersects, this is the line which intersects between solid and solid plus liquid, that is called as solidus. So this is about, so this is your solid liquidus line, this is your solidus line. How to read a phase diagram? So you can get a different composition. Suppose this is your A, this is B, and this is element A. Here you have 100% A, here you have 100% B, 100% B, and here B has 20%, A has 80%. Here B has a composition of 40%, and A has 60%. Here B has 70%, B is of 70%, A is of 30%. So like that. So this by so how to read a phase diagram? So for example, at this composition, you want to know what is the phase, what phase you get at different temperature. For example, here. So at this temperature, what phase you get? By seeing the phase diagram, you can draw a line and you can directly tell, oh, at this temperature I will get only liquid phase. If I do temperature at any combination, I will get liquid plus solid phase. At this temperature I will get solid phase, and at this temperature what is the composition of liquid and solid? For that I have to draw a tie line, and this will give me the composition of liquid and this will give me the composition of solid. A will give me the composition of liquid, B will give me the composition of solid, and then by using lever rule I can get what is the fraction of liquid and what is the fraction of solid I have. Like that you can see. Similarly, you can see this is the binary system 2. Here also, if you want to read this alloy, what you can do? Similarly, here you can get this is your alloy A and this is alloy B. For few phase, for few alloy system, you will get this kind of phase diagram. So we will discuss in detail in the next class when I will discuss about a eutectic phase diagram. So here what happens? This is A and this is B. And now this is your liquid. So this is your one solid phase. So solid phase 1. So this is solid phase 2. So this is solid 1 plus L. This is solid 2 plus L. So this is, so that's why this is intermediate between 2. So S1 plus S2. So if you take S1 as alpha and S2 as beta, then it will become alpha plus beta. So this is alpha S1 and beta, this is beta. So now this is here how to read. So this line, the line, as I said, the line which differentiate between liquid to liquid plus solid is called as what? Liquidus. So this is liquidus. So and this line is your solidus. Now here we are getting one more line. We are getting right this one, this line, and I am getting this line. So what this line does? This line is differentiating between one solid phase like S1 to two solid phase S1 plus S2. This is the boundary between S1 and S2. This line is the boundary between S1 and S1 plus S2 or alpha and alpha plus L2. So this kind of line are called as solvus. So this also differentiate between beta and alpha plus beta. So this is also called as solvus. So these lines, so now we saw in this phase we have liquidus line differentiate between liquid and solid plus liquid. solidus line, so this is also liquidus, sorry. So what is solidus? Solidus line difference between a solid and solid plus liquid phase. So here what is, which is that line? This line. So this line differentiate between solid and solid plus liquid phase. So this line is your solidus. Similarly here this line is your solidus. Okay. So these are this is about liquidus and solidus, and this is your phase diagram. Okay. Now if your composition is something like this, how will it how to read? Suppose by in a binary diagram you can see this is your 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, so if you divide into 10 division 1, 2, 3, 4, or if you divide 5 division 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each one will give 20% B, 40% B as we discussed, 60% B, 80% B, and this is 100%. So this is 100% A. So this is B percentage of, it may be weight percent or atomic percent, weight percent of B. So with different weight percent of B, this is an alloy. In this alloy contains 20% B and 80% A. If you want to see the phase diagram, what you have to do? You have to draw a vertical line and see what kind of different phases form. For example, here it gets liquid, here it gets liquid plus solid, here it gets again solid, two solid phases. Again, so now if suppose you want to know this temperature, what is the percentage of alpha and beta at this temperature? For that, what you have to do? You have to draw a lever rule again, draw a horizontal line, see the alloy composition here, see the alloy composition here, then you want to know this, right? So then divide this one, this length by whole length to get alloy percentage of BS2. Similarly, by using lever rule, you can get percentage of alpha and percentage of beta. This is how you have to read a binary phase diagram. Now come to ternary phase diagram. If you have a ternary phase diagram, suppose this is like this, and in this this diagram shows that at a temperature of 100 degree, for simplicity I have taken a simple ternary phase diagram, and you want to know what is your phase here. Okay. Now in a ternary phase, what is a ternary phase diagram? You have three elements, A, B, C. So this ternary phase diagram gives you information of phase diagram of when three elements are there. So here A is your solvent, B is your solute 1, C is your solute 2. So you have three elements, A, B, C. This one is your solvent, second one is your solute 1, third one your solute 2. So like this is your ternary phase diagram. In a ternary phase diagram, ternary phase diagrams are generally represented in the term of a triangle. You can see equilateral triangle A, B, C. So it's a ternary phase diagram. Now suppose you want to know, suppose this is a particular phase diagram of a particular alloy, ABC alloy with at different temperature. So this ternary phase diagram is like your binary phase diagram. Ternary phase diagrams will give you the alloy composition with respect to temperature. For example, so this ternary phase diagram will give you solid, liquid, and so this, as per this ternary diagram, now this is your phase where you have liquid plus solid. Now at a particular temperature, so at different particular temperature, so you will get something like this in a ternary phase diagram. It means if your alloy is somewhere here or here or here or here or here or here or here, so in this zone you will get liquid. If your alloy is in this zone, you will get solid, and if your alloy is in the hatched zone, you will get liquid plus solid in a ternary phase diagram. Now the first question is like binary phase diagram. Now suppose my alloy is like this, how to read? First question is how to identify the ternary alloy, how to identify the ternary phase alloy in a phase diagram. For example, here, so I want to know, I know that this point contains some fraction of liquid and some fraction of solid. So then I need to know what is this point. This point may be some fraction of A, some fraction of B, some fraction of C. How to read that? That is important to know. Second thing is, if this is the case, how to know what is the, so first one is how to know composition of A, composition of B, composition of C, this is first step. Second is how to know the phase composition. Suppose you have A, B, C, how to know? Here you have liquid phase and solid phase. How to know what is the fraction of weight percentage of liquid and what is the weight percentage of solid? How to know? So these two things are to be known. So we will I will tell you how to read a binary phase diagram. Let us come to the first point. How to read a binary phase diagram. Suppose this is a binary phase diagram. So the binary phase diagram tells you the phase diagram of a, sorry, this is a ternary phase diagram. The ternary phase diagrams tells you, will give you the phase diagram, equilibrium phase diagram of a ternary alloy. Okay, so it means a alloy where three elements are there. Let us say A, B, C. So in a ternary diagram, there are three vertex A, vertex B, vertex C. So each vertex contains 100% of that particular material, 100% A. Here it contains 100% B, and here it contains 100% C. So each vertex contains 100% of that particular alloy. It means if you have aluminum, copper, suppose A is aluminum, B is copper, C is silver, then here 100% aluminum, it is a pure aluminum, B is a pure copper, C is pure silver. So each component has 100%. Now there are three edges. This is edge 1, AB is a edge, BC is a edge, CE is a edge. Each edge tells you a AB binary alloy. So each one gives you binary alloy of AB, BC, CA. It means AB, this line AB gives me the binary alloy of AB. Same simple, whatever phase diagram you have got, AB give me the binary composition of AB. Similarly, AC give me the binary alloy composition of AB, and BC give me the binary composition of BC. So now it is clear. Now the vertex, there is a vertex, and adjacent to the vertex there is a line. So for A, the line is BC. So BC contains 0% A of A atom percent. So BC contains 0% of A atoms and A contains 100% of A atom. Okay. Similarly, B perpendicular to B is this line. So perpendicular to B is this line. So B perpendicular is AC. So here B contain 100% of B alloying element, AC contains 0%. Similarly, C contains C adjacent to C is AC. C is adjacent to C is AB. Adjacent to C vertex is my AB. So C contains 100% of C, 100% of C, and AB contain 0% of C. So this is percentage of A. Okay. So like this the line indicates. Okay. Now we discussed that. A, these are the three vertex points. Each vertex points contains 100% of that parent metal. A contains 100%, B contains 100%. So for example, A, we discussed that adjacent to the A, which this side contains 0% of A. So this is 0% of A, 0% of A. If I divide between this and this, if I divide 10 parallel lines or 100 parallel lines, for example, this line, 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 this line. I have divided into 10 parts. Now, it means since it is 0%, it is 10%, this is 20%, this is 30% of A, 40% of A, 50% of A, 60% of A, 70% of A, 80% of A, 90% of A, 100% of A. So, this gives me weight percent of. Similarly, what will happen now similarly B as we discussed, B is, so can I use color now, B, now I am in B, got. So B, so for B this is the adjacent line, for B this is the adjacent line. So this is my, so this is here 0%, here my at the adjacent line you will have 0%. Now I will have a parallel line to this adjacent line, parallel line, 10 parallel lines if I make. I made 10 parallel lines. Now here this is my 0%, this is 10 again, 10, 20, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, again this is 100, 100% of B. This is my alloy composition of B. Okay, it means my weight percent of B increases like this, weight percentage of B. Okay. Now similarly let us do for A. This is A, suppose A is of this color, so A we have done, B. Now let us do for C. So suppose this is C color, 100% C. We discussed that adjacent to C, this line contains this is line AB, adjacent to C, this line AB has 0%. So this is 0%. Now draw parallel to this line, 10 parallel to this line, one line, line 1, line 2, line 3, what happened? Okay. Similarly, line 4, line 5, line 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I missed one line. Now this is C. So this is 0%, as we discussed. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, this is 100. Now, so this gives weight percent of C. Now, with this diagram, suppose I want a alloy somewhere here. What is my alloy? What is it? What is this alloy? What is this alloy? This alloy I will see which this is parallel to A. So this line is parallel to A. This line is parallel to, so now I will change the color. I want to see this line is parallel to A. Now see what is the composition, A 10, 20, this is A 60. So 60%. Okay, so now I am here A. So A is 60% of A. Now what is, how to know B? My composite point is here. B means I have to draw a parallel line. This is B, right? So I have to draw a parallel line. This is B. Sorry, B. So B is this one. So I have to draw a parallel line. with this, and I will see where it meets this parallel line. It meets here. So B is 10, 20, 20%, 20% B. So how to know C? I have to see C. C, this is the C line which is parallel. So I have to draw a parallel line to this point and to know this is my C. So this is my C. So C is what? 10, 20, 20%. So now we got. Similarly, what is the combination here? Now let us know alloy here. What is this alloy? This alloy is, for this what I have to do? I have to draw a parallel line with A. This is the parallel line with A. So this is my A combination. So A combination is 10, 20. So 20% A. Now with B also I have to draw a parallel line. So this is my B composition. So 50% B. Similarly with C also I have to draw a parallel line. So 30% C. So here total is 100%. So now this, like this I have to read a alloy. So now come to our condition. Now in this condition I said I want to know the alloy here. So now by seeing in this way I can find out how to identify a ternary alloy in a phase diagram. Suppose this point, I want to see this point from this phase diagram, for example this point. How to know? This phase diagram tells that this is in alpha L plus S region. How to know what is the percentage of L and what is the percentage of L? So then what I have to do? I have to draw the tie lines. I have to divide this into equal number of parts. I have to divide this into equal number of parts like this, and I want to know this point. Okay, then I will use like a tie line. So this one, this is A, this is X, this is B. By using A, so now this line has liquid plus solid. Now I can know the alloy composition here. I know the alloy composition here. So percentage of, I can tell percentage of liquid equal to, percentage of liquid means it touches here. So XB by AB into 100. I use same lever rule. So similarly, I want to know percentage of solid equal to, again I have to see the line which is not connecting. So this some point you have to see. So AX by AB into 100. Like this I can read a ternary phase diagram, and I can also know what is fraction of each phase in a ternary phase diagram. So these are the possible combinations in binary phase diagrams. So what we get from a phase diagram, importance of a phase diagram. So the phase diagram tells you to determine the number of phases, composition of phases present in any given alloy at a specific temperature. Okay. Second, what it gives? It gives the freezing temperature. So for example, this is the alloy. So it gives the freezing temperature, this temperature, and melting temperature, solidification temperature for any specific composition. Third, it gives the heat treatment condition and shape temperature. So for example, for each temperature, you will get a microstructure, and that microstructure, for example, if you will be here, you will get a liquid plus solid microstructure. Your if you will be here, you will get a solid. So for example, here, if you are here, then you are getting alpha plus beta. If you are here, you are getting only alpha. So this alpha plus beta will have some particular kind of microstructure, maybe something alpha, beta grains will be there. These may be the beta, and this, by altering the alpha and beta, you will get different mechanical properties. So it will predict the heat treatment condition for and shape temperature to predict the microstructure of an alloy at any given temperature. So any temperature you can predict a microstructure of an alloy. Okay, for example, here you get liquid plus solid, here you get only solid, here you will get only liquid. The phase diagram will give that one also. And to choose the composition to develop best properties. So phase diagram, since phase diagram gives the microstructure, and since the microstructure tells you the property of a particular material, so by using phase diagram you can select a microstructure which will be desirable for achieving that best property. So all the things you can get from a phase diagram. So in today's lecture, now we discuss what are the possible phase diagrams. The possible type of binary phase diagrams are two components may be completely soluble in liquid state, or partially soluble in solid state. So we will discuss in detail in the next class. Okay. In a binary system, when you have A and B element, now you want to develop a phase diagram for a binary phase element. What may happen? A and B may be completely soluble liquid state. It's possible, and also completely soluble in solid state. It's possible. So A. So this is one possibility. Possibility one is and completely soluble in solid state. So for example, in this alloy system, A and B are completely soluble in solid state, completely soluble in liquid state, and you are getting alpha plus S. So this is possible. Secondly, this system is called as isomorphism system. We will discuss in detail in the next class. What is the second type? A and B may be partially soluble in solid state, but completely soluble in liquid state. Something. So this system is something like this. A and B may be partially soluble in solid state. So this is liquid, this is solid. So this is solid state. This is solid state. So this is alpha. So these are partially soluble. It is not completely soluble like here. It is partially soluble in solid state, but in liquid state you are getting a single phase. In solid state, up to some extent you are getting single phase. Alpha is single phase, beta is single phase, but you are getting up to some level. So these are partial soluble in solid state and complete soluble in liquid state. This is coming in the second category. So we will discuss in detail about other remaining things in the next class. So what we discussed today? Today we discussed about the alloy. What is an alloy? And we discussed about the difference between some of you asked about to tell me about the difference in alloy and compound. That also I told what is the difference between an alloy and composite material. Then we discussed about the solid solution. What are the substitutional solid solution, interstitial solid solution, what is the role of the solute atoms in solvent, and as a result what kind of properties you get, what is the role of solid solution strengthening we saw. Then we discussed about the phase diagram. Then I told you about how to read a phase diagram. If it is a binary phase diagram, how to read. If it is ternary phase diagram, how to read. We also discussed about fundamentals like degree of freedom, Lever rule and all. So tomorrow onwards, in the next class, we will discuss about the binary phase diagram. So what I will do is, like in the next class, I will dedicate for the binary phase diagram, and the next class I will dedicate for the iron carbon phase diagram. Okay. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Yeah. So there will be a coring effect which will be discussed while discussing about the binary phase diagrams mainly. Tomorrow in the next class I will discuss about all the phase diagrams in binary system. I will discuss about isomorphous system, I will discuss about eutectic system, I will discuss about eutectoid system, peritectic system, peritetroid system, and basically I will discuss all the possible binary systems on tomorrow. And at that during that class I will tell what is the coring effect, in which case you will get homogeneous microstructure, which case you will get heterogeneous microstructure, what will be the role of coring effect, and why you get coring effect. Those things in detail we will discuss in the next class when we discussed about the phase diagram. Okay, so today we discussed mainly fundamentals of phase diagram in today's class. Okay, thank you. So then we will meet in our next class.
you.